The film begins by showing a majestic palace, where prisoners were being fed in the bustling city of London. Among them was a white witch, along with another captive named Peter, who happened to be the very first king of Russia. Just as hunger gnawed at their empty stomachs, a carrier dove gracefully descended upon their location. Tempted by their hunger, one of them contemplated devouring the bird. However, the wise witch cautioned that the dove might be a messenger. Intrigued, they inspected the bird and, to their amazement, discovered a letter addressed to a man called Jonathan Green. Now, Jonathan was a brilliant scientist who had the good fortune of marrying a princess from the British Empire. He had been tasked with embarking on a journey around the globe in order to create a comprehensive world map. However, his cartographic endeavors had resulted in a map limited to only the European continent. Nonetheless, this incomplete creation was sent to a man named Peter in the Kingdom of Russia. To Jonathan's dismay, his own voyage took an unexpected turn as he found himself imprisoned. Yet he was not alone in his misfortune, for a compassionate young woman shared his captivity and kindly offered him a comforting blanket. Meanwhile, Peter, confined within his own cell, received the letter and wasted no time in responding, pleading for their release. On the other hand, within the grand palace of Lord Dudley, Jonathan's wife Emma received a letter carried by a dove. She promptly delivered it to her father. As the contents of the letter were read aloud, the entire royal entourage made their way to Moscow, Russia, where prisoners were held captive. At that time, Jonathan had been granted his freedom due to his unfinished map-making mission. Determined to continue his journey towards the east, he sought an assistant and found a young woman whom he had noticed earlier. Without hesitation, Jonathan chose her to be released, and together they departed from that place, embarking on a voyage to China to create the most up-to-date map. As they traveled, they got to know each other. The young woman, they discovered, was named Changlan and happened to be the child of a white witch. It turned out that both of them shared the same goal of venturing eastward. Along the way, they encountered a group of individuals who demanded important items from their train. Seeing that, Changlan, unable to remain idle, fearlessly fought against them all. During the intense scuffle, a peculiar winged creature belonging to Changlan suddenly appeared inside Jonathan's horse-drawn carriage. Undeterred, they continued their journey while Jonathan penned a letter to Emma, expressing concern that if the great Peter had not been in Russia, he himself might have faced imprisonment at that very moment. Soon after, the scene shifts to Emma, who was heading towards the location where prisoners were held captive, hoping to locate Peter, the first king of Russia. Inside the place, she encounters a man named James Hook, who has organized a betting competition for their release. 3 students of the White Witch bravely step forward to take on James Hook in the fight. Remarkably, they emerge victorious and escape from the confines of their imprisonment, determined to find Changlan and her teacher. Soon after, Emma approaches James Hook to inquire about Peter, but he denies imprisoning a king and claims to have captured a Russian man suspected of being a spy. Unexpectedly, Emma herself is apprehended and brought before the witch and Peter. She implores Peter for his assistance in reclaiming his throne while reading a letter from Jonathan, which mentions their encounter with a skilled teenage girl named Changlan. Astonishingly, the witch, portrayed by Jackie Chan, who is known as Master, is taken aback upon hearing Changlan's name, as she happens to be his daughter. Then, as a prisoner suddenly dies within the cell, Emma decides to leave once again, accompanied by James Hook. In a twist of fate, as the officer unchains a man, he unintentionally grants freedom to Master, who then turns against them. In this peculiar turn of events, the prisoners are eventually released since Master is determined to locate a personal belonging. However, after successfully retrieving the object, Master finds himself apprehended by James Hook. Meanwhile, Peter manages to escape aboard the train belonging to Jonathan's wife, carrying a gold medal bestowed upon him by Master to give to his daughter, Changlan. Now imprisoned, Master seizes the opportunity to escape this place, engaging in a fierce battle against the formidable James Hook. Outside the palace, a thrilling chase ensues between Peter and the royal guard. Meanwhile, Master continues to fight James Hook, despite his old age making it challenging to move and combat his opponent. Unfortunately, Master is captured once again and confined to a holding cell. Long story short, they cleverly evaded the royal officers and managed to board a Russian ship in disguise. At that time, Peter skillfully concealed his identity by lifting objects to cover his face, as he wore a mask. Emma, on the other hand, disguised herself as a beverage carrier, assuming the role of the ship owner's assistant. While Peter found himself among the ship's cargo, he suddenly awoke from his slumber. Determined to make his presence known, he hurriedly made his way to the deck and proclaimed himself as the first king of Russia, seeking the captain of the ship. However, due to the mask obscuring his face, the crew found his claim amusing and laughter erupted on board. Observing the situation, Emma quickly interjected, stating that the person was merely intoxicated and deranged. Acting swiftly, she struck Peter, causing him to lose consciousness. After several hours, Peter found himself confined, realizing the unfortunate turn of events. Meanwhile, Emma, who had been offering a drink to the ship's captain, noticed a sudden change in weather. Dark clouds loomed overhead, and thunder rumbled, signaling an approaching storm that would unleash turbulent waves upon the sea. Interestingly, as the ship sailed on, its sails unfurled to reveal women's clothing basking in the sun. This piqued the captain's suspicion that there might be a woman on board. Seizing the moment, he entrusted Emma with the ship's key, instructing her to search each room and verify the presence of any women. As they ventured beneath the ship in search of the mysterious woman, Emma inadvertently stepped on a rat, causing her to startle and lose her head cover, exposing her true identity to the crew. Suddenly, their eyes locked onto Emma. Then, they recognizing her as a woman and desiring to apprehend her. Reacting swiftly, Emma passed the key to Peter, urging him to break free and confront their captors. However, the treacherous waves and uncertain sea conditions compelled the crew to order them back onto the ship. At that time, they braced themselves for the impending turmoil. Meanwhile, the intoxicated captain sought refuge in his hiding place, succumbing to drowsiness induced by the alcohol he had consumed. As a result, the ship swayed violently, and the crew noticed that the wheel remained unattended, for the captain had mysteriously vanished. In that crucial moment, Peter rose to the occasion, taking hold of the wheel to navigate through towering waves and treacherous rocks jutting out from the sea. His skills were put to the ultimate test. Despite the ship teetering on the brink of sinking, they triumphed over the storm's fury and the tumultuous, unforgiving sea. Just as they believed they had overcome the worst, the missing captain suddenly reappeared, and they were promptly imprisoned to prevent them from inebriating him once more. However, in an unexpected turn of events, Peter was chosen by the crew to assume the role of the ship's captain. It was then that Peter removed his face mask, revealing his true identity. Meanwhile, Jonathan and Chainlan found themselves in the scorching desert, where the sweltering heat made her uncomfortable. Knowing that, Jonathan couldn't help but wonder why this young teenager seemed impervious to the harsh weather. He contemplated the idea of getting them off the train and finding an alternative mode of transportation. However, Chainlan insisted on staying aboard the train, vigilant and watchful for any signs of trouble. Long story short, they reached the outskirts of China, where Jonathan peered through his binoculars and spotted farmers who were forcefully being made to pick tea leaves by the royal troops. Those who refused to comply were subjected to brutal beatings. While Jonathan slept, Chainlan carefully removed his head covering, contemplating leaving him behind. The scene then shifts to a bustling marketplace. Dissatisfied voices filled the air as many complained about the diminishing quality of the tea they harvested. Suddenly, the royal troops arrived, demanding payment from the people for their services. However, an elderly man boldly refused, and as a result, he was seized by the royal entourage. In a courageous act, some individuals intervened, leading to a chaotic brawl. During this commotion, Chainlan spotted a messenger from the kingdom and pursued him relentlessly. The messenger accused her of treason, alleging her involvement with black witches. At that moment, a woman named Li Hong appeared, fixated on engaging Chainlan in a fight, as she believed that all these troubles were orchestrated by Chainlan, who happened to be the king's daughter. Meanwhile, Jonathan, who had been traveling in a horse-drawn carriage, abruptly awakened from his slumber, realizing that he had been captured and taken away by the royal troops. On the other hand, the messenger who had previously arrived presented a golden tribute to the princess, who disguised herself as Cheng Lan. Wearing a mask resembling Cheng Lan's face, she exuded an air of regality, as if she were a princess reigning over a magnificent palace and commanding a dragon. Meanwhile, Jonathan, being present, introduced himself as a skilled mapmaker. The princess was taken aback by his description of his maps. Intrigued, Jonathan volunteered to create a visually appealing map of the Grand Palace. Hearing that, the princess agreed to this proposal. Moreover, Jonathan expressed his purpose of visiting was to learn about the legendary tale of the great dragon within this realm. On the other hand, Peter's ship arrived in the Chinese Sea. Welcomed by the royal troops, he negotiated the purchase of tea from the region, allowing them entry into the area. During their journey, he showcased a gold dragon seal medal to a tea vendor in the market, capturing the attention of many onlookers. Meanwhile, within the kingdom, Jonathan, having meticulously drawn a map of the palace, yearned to gain a deeper understanding of this realm. His exploration led him to discover that the troops' power source was none other than electricity stored in bottles, a peculiar revelation indeed. In another turn of events, Peter and Emma, who had been strolling earlier, found themselves confronted by Cheng Lan, who swiftly abducted Jonathan and demanded information about the golden dragon seal medal. Suddenly, Emma, hot on their heels, aimed a gun at Cheng Lan. Cheng Lan then revealed that he had been imprisoned in Moscow alongside her father until a man named Jonathan Green came and set her free. Unfortunately, Jonathan's attempt to observe the palace resulted in his capture by the royal guards, and he now faced impending punishment. However, the creature accompanying Cheng Lan managed to snatch Jonathan's map and deliver it to her. Meanwhile, Peter and Emma eventually rendezvoused with Cheng Lan's entire army, joining forces to embark on their mission to confront the malevolent witch princess. Unexpectedly, the creature reappeared, delivering the map that had been taken from the palace. They soon realized that the map Jonathan had created was meant for Cheng Lan and her people in their struggle against the kingdom. Returning to the palace, 3 students of Master arrived and revealed that the golden seal was in the possession of a Russian man named Peter and his crew. Determined to retrieve the seal, they embarked on a search. Meanwhile, Zhang Ji remained in the palace to protect the princess. Zhang Ji, deeply infatuated with the princess, devoted himself to her, unaware that she was not the real princess. Soon after, Peter and Cheng Lan's troops joined forces, forging an alliance. Together, they trained and prepared tactics to counter resistance from the kingdom, utilizing the power of pepper and chili. Not long after, Zhang Ji's companions arrived and encountered the true Cheng Lan. They convened to devise a plan for their attack. The plan involved Emma and Peter disguising themselves as bearers of the dragon seal medal. The following day, judgment befell Jonathan, who had been captured and condemned by the kingdom to face the dragon. However, Emma, who was present, proclaimed Jonathan as her husband, halting the proceedings. Consequently, they were all apprehended, while Peter found himself indulging in the company of the impostor princess. Seizing the opportunity, the princess offered Peter a poisoned drink. Then, as Peter lost consciousness, she meticulously searched his attire, hoping to secure the golden seal. Alas, the seal was nowhere to be found. Meanwhile, Cheng Lan and Peter's companions infiltrated the kingdom, navigating through the sewers to evade the royal palace troops. During their exploration, Peter's crew discovered that the fearsome dragon menacing the populace was merely a fraudulent creation fueled by electricity. They resolved to destroy this imitation dragon. On the other hand, Emma and Jonathan, now bound to a stake for public spectacle, awaited the impending threat of the clone dragon. Then, as the dragon discharged its electric fury, Peter's comrades swiftly engaged in battle with the individual controlling the clone. Ultimately, they emerged victorious, rescuing Jonathan and his wife from certain peril. In another part of the story, Cheng Lan's team devised plans to infiltrate the palace. Utilizing their ingenious invention, they flew through the upper gate and engaged in a fierce battle. Meanwhile, Peter, accompanied by the real princess, became the target of Zhang Ji's assassination attempt. However, Zhang Ji's friends intervened, revealing the princess to be an imposter. Soon after, the false princess fled, soaring away in a flying balloon. On the other hand, after successfully subdued the dragon, Cheng Lan took to the skies atop the creature, determined to confront the fake princess. At that time, the dragon relentlessly pursued the imposter as Cheng Lan confronted her in a thrilling battle between the two princesses. Amidst the clash, the fake princess's allies swarmed Cheng Lan, overwhelming her and leading to her defeat. The dragon seal was seized by the imposter princess, who callously threw her concubines from the palace, sending them plummeting to the ground. Shortly thereafter, Peter and Cheng Lan's companions arrived and witnessed the presence of twin sisters with distinct differences. Cheng Lan, falsely accused and lacking the dragon seal, was subsequently apprehended. However, Jonathan pointed out that the approaching creature belonged to Cheng Lan, confirming her true identity. In a shocking turn of events, the witch hurled a sharp object at Jonathan, unmasking himself and summoning the dragon. Suddenly, the dragon responded upon recognizing the seal of the metal. Then, Cheng Lan's creature seized the seal once again, only to be fatally struck down by the fake princess. Shortly after, the seal fell from their grasp. In the aftermath, Cheng Lan emerged from hiding, ready to confront the situation that lay ahead. Surprisingly, Cheng Lan gained control of the creature, while the princess acquired the dragon seal and summoned the dragon. However, the dragon hesitated, sensing the true princess's identity, realizing that Cheng Lan was the real princess after all. The film ends. The moral lesson from this film is don't trust a fake princess with a flying balloon, especially if she throws her concubines off the palace.